So we're back for part 7 of Reiki information and attunement meditations. And right now I'm going to talk about some general Reiki questions and answers. And so number one would be, okay, where does it come from? And I think that I've talked about that already. I'm sure I have. It comes from a higher power. So this is coming from a higher dimension than what is physical reality that we are used to seeing around us. It's a subtle energy that can't be seen except by, likely people who are clairvoyant and able to see auras, that type of thing. And what they will see when viewing this clairvoyantly is that the energy appears to come down from above and enter the top of the practitioner's head, and then it flows through the body and out of the hands, and of course into the client. However, the true source of this energy is within ourselves, and you can think of that as the energy that's within the nucleus of each one of these cells, a bunch of particles of light energy. And so Reiki enhances and grows that light energy as it comes into the being. And I'm going to call it a being because Reiki can be infused into anything around us. It can be used to clear a room that feels bad. I don't know if any of you have experienced it, but I experience it in many places that I go to. There are some places that feel, as I walk into them, like, something really is kind of turning my stomach here. Something happened. There might not even be anybody in the room. This might be something from, like, even 100 years ago. But, this negative stuff can leave residue even in a room. And so Reiki can be used to clear a room by sending out the intent of that energy into a room. And it helps to play good frequency music and also things like natural plant scents. You might want to use something like essential oils. Their scents to clear a room. Sage, burning sage, has been used in by Native Americans quite a bit in their clearing ceremony. We're talking about the wilder sort of sage, not the grocery store sage. So if you'd like to clear a room that way too, that's also another way of a Reiki form that has been done with Native Americans. They'll also use, like, in their ceremonies quite a bit, and their spiritual quests, that kind of thing. So that's something that if you're into that, you could look up the use of smudge sticks and sage in Native American history. But of course that goes along with their intent to clear a room. So that's, I would think, probably the bigger part of it. And Reiki can be used to clear clear negative energies from food. Like, let's say you're eating meat, and you feel that needs to be cleared of any toxins. As you learn the Reiki symbols, those can be intentionally dropped on the food and help it to clear of any negative energy and enhance the nutrition of it that way. There's another intent. With pets, it works fabulously, and actually when people are starting out doing Reiki, a good thing to practice on is your pets. And one of the reasons for this is that, you know, you might start to think that you're feeling that energy of your pet, and the pet rolls over, and the reason it rolls over is it wants you to pet, like maybe the belly is where that pet wants you to go with that energy. So that pet is telling you then that I'd like you to spend more time like in this particular area, and it gives you a chance to get used to a real living being, and how this energy is working within this other being. And so there's a lot of benefits to working with pets, and they can also be healed of discomforts and diseases. And of course, for anybody who's got a pet, this is going to be helpful for you also. I mean, medical research has shown that having a pet and caring for it is very, very helpful for especially like people who tend to get depressed or have other issues of the heart that way. So yeah, practice. If you're getting started, practice first on your pet. Your pet will let you know just how to do it, with especially with Reiki stage 1 and 2. Another question is Reiki a religion? And no, it's not a religion. It's something that is a little broader in scope than that. And if we're talking about this one source of everything, God and the universe, then it naturally follows that God is not just going to pick out one religion and say, you know, just on earth and in this particular sect of this particular denomination, we have beings that I have created, which I am myself accepting of. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it seems like the creator of the universe would probably have created beings that it is accepting of to begin with. That one particular religion is the religion, is something that's really kind of narrow and limiting, and the universe is a big place, and so that one doesn't make sense to me either. But you know, to state that it is any kind of particular religion, it can be used in conjunction with any type of religion. You're not barred from doing Reiki if you are like a Roman Catholic or Jewish or Muslim or Hindi or whatever. It can be used along with it. and as far as I know, does not bar any particular religions from using it. And how could it? I mean, if you're talking about this is something that is energy of the higher source, how can you bar that energy, regardless of any kind of ego involvement out there? How is a Reiki treatment given? In a standard treatment of Reiki, the energy flows from the hands to the client, and usually from the top of the head, and will move down. They might have, the practitioner might have the person laying on a massage table and go over them that way. The client remains fully clothed, and the hands are placed near the body unless the person wants the practitioner to put the hands directly on the body. So the hands are moved around to, you think of it as the person, practitioner, has light coming out of their hands, and as this light comes like a few inches from the body in any direction, that light is going to go into the other person. Each position is held for something like 3 to 10 minutes, depending on what the person needs, and the whole treatment usually lasts somewhere around 25 to 90 minutes. And what it feels like, it's going to be different for each person, and even different each time. It might be for the practitioner. Now, as a practitioner, okay, so when I'm doing this, I'm also seeing colors that are going on in the person's body, and I can see where they need to be kind of smoothed out. So in those places, I'll spend more time and send in more of that white light energy, and that energy can then be directed by the source, what I call my higher self, God, and then it goes into the other person, and it begins to smooth out. The colors become more even, and the feelings that go along with it can be things like cold or hot, warm, and tingly hands and feet. You might get something that's sort of akin to a hot flash, and it could also start to involve Kundalini, which is a lighting up of the chakras, and that is the flow of energy up and down the spine. Certain parts of your anatomy might start to feel a little heavier or lighter. Your whole body might feel heavier or lighter. You might feel like you're dropping things on the floor, which would be like the dropping of negative energy. You might be feeling like you're drifting off somewhere, which is part of this third eye involvement. Being able to sense that type of thing. Might feel like a lucid dream. And at the end, you probably will feel refreshed and more positive and balanced. So those are some of the things that can happen. For a really powerful one, it can be that you might start sweating it out of your system after it's done, because after this is done, the person does go through a clearing process, which generally goes for like 21 days, and in this process the person is going to be clearing of any kind of toxins and that type of thing, negative stuff, actually physical stuff and mental, emotional. You could have emotional involvement where you spend a few days crying about things, or getting angry about things, or working through some past issues. This, remember, it involves the mind, body, and spirit. This is not just, we're so used to in Western medicine just looking at the physical aspects and take a quick pill and it's going to be done for. Well, in this clearing process, it is still a continuum, and it is a continuum that will continue. It'll keep going for the rest of your life, and so especially during these 21 days just after an attunement, it's going to be more felt, this energy. The persons will be going through a lot of different things, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. Some questions might pop up about the way you yourself are going about doing things, and don't worry, you're not going crazy. You are just like clearing yourself of things, and just try and remember to tell the ego to stay out of the way and let it happen. That can be kind of a difficult part for people. What can be treated with Reiki? Well, as I was just talking about the mind, body, spirit, anything. Heart disease, leukemia, cancer, tension, anxiety, colds, bee stings, stomach aches. The side effects of medications that you're taking can be reduced, can help with chemotherapy, post-operative pain and depression, and improving the healing rate while people are in the hospital. And there are cases where people have experienced complete healings, which have been confirmed by medical tests before and after. This is not something that's guaranteed, but it can happen. We, of course, would not recommend that anybody stop seeing a regular doctor or psychologist or any kind of other medical help, or stop taking their pills or psychological treatment, that type of thing. This is in addition to. So it's recommended that this be another part of any type of treatment that a person is already getting. And it works in harmony with all of those things to improve the results. Okay, who can learn to do Reiki? It's really simple to learn, but not simple. It's going to take a long time, much meditation to really, for some people especially. And what needs to happen is that actually it's kind of like a time warp needs to happen, and in order to get into finding that energy, I think it's a good idea to go back to that stage when you were a child and connect with that child energy that you had before. Well, I'm just kind of going by my own experience, but you know, mine got kind of clogged up by the time I was a teenager, so that told me to go back to how I felt as a child when I was sitting in a tree examining a walking stick that was that was sitting right in front of me. So that was probably one of my first forms of meditation, and that was how I was connecting with nature and getting into Reiki when I was, I don't know, 3 or 4 or so. So think about that. Think about those experiences, try to reconnect with those, and that should make your training a little bit easier to visualize and go with. And another reason it's not taught in the usual ways is something that makes it easier to learn too. It's a concept, and this concept is simply transferred from the teacher to the student through the processes called attunements that take place. Well, they can take place long distance over the internet. You can call a Reiki practitioner, and it can be done over the phone. It can be done in person. Another aspect that is helpful to know about are the symbols that go along with Reiki Level 3 class. And I'm going to say now that, you know, here in America, people are not used to getting things for free. There was a time when I had heirloom seeds on Local Harvest, and no, even before that, I was trying to actually give out heirloom seeds. And what happened was I found that, you know, even though I'm offering these great little seeds that, you know, really are helpful, I have no takers. You know, what's the deal here? And so I decided to start selling them on Local Harvest and on my site. And, you know, guess what? People started buying them. Well, that's just the way we do things, you know. In America, you know, it's sort of like you don't see, if you're getting something for free, you don't see any value to it. So I was selling my seeds for quite a while on Local Harvest before the government started deciding that they needed to have some of this little tiny bit of money that us farmers are not making anyway, and they needed to take more of that. So I've taken them offline, but this is one example of what can happen with Reiki being paid for too. And I don't think it helps for any Reiki practitioner to ask or demand a payment. That does not help the intention be any better. So if you're paying for a treatment, that does not make it any better than getting a free treatment. But all the same, it's only fitting and proper to pay Reiki practitioners for all their previous time spent in things like meditation and intent and getting prepared for these things and knowing how to use this energy. You know, think of it as time is still money for them too, and they need to pay their bills, and so it would be the proper thing to do to pay your misfits and artists and musicians and Reiki masters for their efforts so that they can continue to do these things. And I think in ways that Picasso had it right when, you know, the woman asked him, well, why are you charging me $1.5 million? Why is it this price? Well, it's because actually Picasso said, I have spent many years in preparation, education for this particular painting that is sitting right in front of you, and so that is what you are paying for. And I myself am not going to demand money, but I'm at the same time, you know, when Mrs. Takata was here spreading this stuff about Reiki throughout the United States, she found the same thing as I did with trying to sell seeds, is that it was not well taken until people started to pay for it. And so with her Reiki 1 classes, even in the early 1900s, it was Reiki 1 was starting at, I think, $175, and Reiki 2 was $200 some, and to get a Reiki 3, you're talking about $10,000. So, and so I think it would be a good thing to donate to people who send this good intent out there and take their time to do it. So there's my lecture on the subject for now, and in the meantime, there are certain things about Reiki 3 that I don't think it would be right to let out to the public, and so I will do Reiki 3 with clients on an individual basis, personally, because I do think that, you know, at that level it needs to be more individual. So Reiki 3 attunements, now maybe I'm wrong with this, but I'm not putting that level out there for the general public, because I think that it is something that people need to kind of work on individually with a teacher individually. So that's my feeling on Reiki 3, you know, the advanced parts of it. There are other things that you can study to enhance it too, and as I said, meditation is a big one. I personally really like Qigong and Tai Chi. Those are helpful in enhancing the energy. So as for the question about how long does it take to turn Reiki, well, it's going to depend on the person and how much time they spend, like, per day, thinking actually about this type of energy. It can be taught in a class that's maybe a week long, but it is kind of the assimilation of that knowledge, you know, the really sinking in of that knowledge, to be able to get this energy up to a really high strength that in the end is important. So again, that's really an individual thing. It might take many years. I myself have spent many years, and maybe I've been too shy about it, but I just feel like, let's not go into it too carelessly, or either, because I think that, and it's natural with people to have this ego involvement that says, okay, well, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it, I'm going to set the world on fire. Well, don't do that, the world might burn down then. Anyway, the ego can get really, really involved, and that can be kind of a dangerous thing too. It's not going to be helpful in the end, and it's not going to work. So let's see. Okay, I was talking about treating different things, and of course one of the things that you can treat is yourself. Can this be used on pregnant women? Yes, and oftentimes it really helps the mother and the unborn baby. Remember where this source energy is coming from. Of course, it's helpful, and it always goes to the right place and does the right thing. Can be used on people who are in a position where they might be actually dying, and it might be one of those things that doesn't save their life, but it helps them make the transition and feel more peaceful and at rest as they die. Can be used that way. And there are 3 symbols and 3 levels at the Reiki 3. Three symbols at the Reiki 3 level that I would personally, if you want to go through the attunements 1 and 2 with me, I'll take you through the symbols that are involved with Reiki 3. And these symbols, what they do is they're visualizations that you can, mentally send to the person that help enhance things like being able to do distant attunements across the world, and to send out to the universe and wherever it's needed. So if this is something that you want to pursue further as you're going along, if you want to get into Reiki 3, one of the things that I'd encourage you to do is to, okay, I'm going to do a commercial now. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and write me an email, and we can go over these things individually. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you and know how things are going with your meditation. And these are all things that we can talk about some more on a personal level. So do that. Subscribe to my channel. There's a lot of fun kaleidoscopes to watch anyway, so keep up with me. Some of the things that you might want to ask your Reiki teacher is what the lineage is, and okay, the lineage has to do with who you learned this from. I took my information from a clairvoyant, and so before her, and where goes from there is it goes back to Usui. And you want to ask about the qualifications to take Reiki. Well, they're kind of across the board too. You know, the person might have been into other energy systems, as I said, like Tai Chi, Qigong. There's no qualifications to take it, though. No prerequisites, as we call them. But you could ask a person, if you're taking a class from them, what are you going to cover in their classes? How many hours of class time is included, and how much time is instructional? How much is hands-on practice? What are the specific things I will be able to do after taking the training? And this can be a little bit vague too. You know, how this energy works is actually up to God, so that might not be a question that anybody could answer. And then of course there are questions about the fees, and will I get a certificate and a manual? I myself have made up certificates, and I do have some manuals available, so again, that's a good reason to subscribe to this and send me an email. If this is something that you would like to get, I can get you a certificate. And I do have another video on, 2 videos actually, about certificates that I have available. And can I take notes and tape record the class? And the answer should be yes. Is there a Reiki support group in my area? And you know, with the advent of the internet, I would think there is likely, if you're in a kind of a popular or a populated area, that there is likely. Other personal questions you might ask would be the teachers, will you openly support me in being successful at this? And as I explained in another video, you know, there might be some Reiki teachers out there that actually take it as a threat. When a student who's really good at this comes along and, you know, demonstrates that they have a pretty powerful ability. And I see that we are kind of getting towards 40 minutes here already. I won't have time for an attunement in this, I'm sorry. But I'm going to finish up the questions before we get around 45 minutes. But the main thing is to listen to your heart, to be guided to the right teacher or practitioner. Another question is, can children learn Reiki? Yes, absolutely. They already have it. Okay, so to find a teacher, the best the best advice would be to just listen to your inner voice, follow your heart. Money shouldn't be too much of a problem. And I don't think there's really any particular school in the world that refines an education where you can get like a master's degree in Reiki. As I said, that's not quite how it works with Reiki. So it's, you know, for the student something when choosing a teacher, you want to have somebody that matches up well with where you want to go and your personality. Okay, so I hope that I can help you out with this. I'm a former art teacher. You might find me kind of wacky and liberal, but you know, I try and make this fun for people. I might throw you the occasional slider, or put things in terms of maybe a Zen Buddhist thought and give you something to think about. These are tendencies that I have. You know, I might throw you a little slide ball or a snowball. It's snowing out today. And anyway, I am afraid we don't have time for that attunement as usual, but if you'd like to do one, you know, just go back to the video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 and take the attunement off of there, and it's going to work the same. That's one thing kind of neat about Reiki. You can send it, me as a practitioner, I can send it anywhere in the universe, and I'm sending you a quickie right now. So there you go. There's your little ray of light for the day, and you can send it anywhere, and it does stuff according to what God wants it to do. So I'm going to end the day with Namaste.